making a Siyum on the entire Talmud Bavli would not have been anywhere on my list. But here we are. And I think it's important to share the motivation and inspiration behind this journey, why we are all gathered here tonight. For those who lived in Boca Raton before 2019, you most likely knew Rabbi Dr. Brian Gallo. And if not, you've at least heard his name. For those who did not know Brian, I want to tell you a little bit about him. When I started working at Boca Raton Synagogue in 2010, I had the privilege and honor of getting to know Brian and his family. Brian was always looking for new ways to bring the community together, to learn, to grow, and feel connected. He helped coordinate bringing Rabbi Shmuel Rubin and Vicky to our community in high-level Kibburos as often as possible. He served on the executive board at Boca Raton Synagogue and worked tirelessly to ensure everyone felt welcome and that they belonged. Brian was kind, thoughtful, and the kind of person you could spend hours with, even just chatting about everyday things. Time with Brian was always enjoyable, inspiring, and uplifting. He had a passion for Jewish education. He and his wife Adina were pioneers at Torah Academy, involved in every stage of its early growth and beyond. Brian chaired the annual Torah Academy golf tournament year after year and made sure that everyone who participated had a great time. In July of 2017, Brian was unfortunately diagnosed with brain tumor. As devastating as that news was for him and his family, Brian remained optimistic, and incredibly, he used that diagnosis to spark a revolution of Daf Yomi learning in the greater Boca Raton community. On November 6, 2017, at the annual Torah Academy golf tournament, Brian made a Siyum on the Son Hedron. It was inspiring to see how many people came together to learn for his refuah. And even then, I never imagined I'd be the one making a Siyum. As you can see on the screen, the very next morning, at 9:39 a.m., I received a text from Brian asking me if I would learn the next set of Makos for his refuah. I didn't know how to respond. I wasn't ready to commit to something so big. Later that day, I received another text, which is not shown on the screen, from Rabbi Goldberg, telling me that he heard Brian had reached out to me, and quote, "It's not nice to ignore him." So I did the only thing I could in that moment. I ignored Rabbi Goldberg too. But at 6:16 p.m., Brian followed up. "Did you start?" That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about me. Brian needed all of us to storm the gates of heaven and learn from his refuah. I told him I hadn't started yet and asked what I needed to do. He responded with encouragement, offering different ways I could make the learning manageable. The next morning, I sent him a screenshot of the first daf of Makos, and he wrote, "You in?" I told him I just finished yesterday's daf. He was so excited and wrote, "Can't wait to share the next Siyum with you." 4 days later, I texted him after completing the first paragraph of Makos. His response, huge. Just over 2 weeks after that, I texted, "Hadron Alaf and Sefas Makos," and he replied, "BH, proud of you, brother. See you tonight." That motivation, that brotherhood, is what launched me into the incredible journey of Daf Yomi over the next 2,687 days. I was learning through the refuah of Brian Gallo. When Hashem decided he needed Brian next to him in the Old Climax, I didn't stop. I continued, now learning from the Elias and Shama of Baruch Tzvi and Reuben Nelson's in front of the Reuben. Every time I finished the Sefta after Brian's passing, I would text his amazing wife, Adina. Her responses were always encouraging. She would tell me that Brian was beaming with delight. I'm so grateful to Adina, to her incredible children, to Brian's sister Alex Lipschitz, and her husband Noam for being here tonight to celebrate this milestone with me. I also want to recognize Brian's oldest son, Sender. When I first started learning, I didn't know what each Masechta was about. I knew there was Pesachim, must be about Pesach, Megillah, Purim, Rosh Hashanah, it's obvious. So when I finished Makos and saw the next was Shavuos, I asked Sender if it was all about cheesecake and getting ready for Shavuos. It wasn't. It was about various kinds of oaths. Definitely not as fun as learning about cheesecakes would have been. Sender has been an inspiration to me throughout my learning, and we bonded over the daf during the last 7.5 years. As was mentioned earlier, I know that being here just a few days before Pesach was no small ask. Yes, I could have waited until after Pesach, or finished a bit earlier, but I needed to do it tonight. Because as you can see on the screen, as Rabbi Goldberg mentioned, on August 18, 2018, I sent Brian a calendar invite Siyum Hashas on April 9th, 2025, which is tonight. The Siyum I am about to make is Lilu Nishmas, Rabar Tzvi, and Ruben Nassim. Before I complete the last lines of the Sanhedrin and make the Siyum Hashas public, I want to thank a few people. To my extraordinary wife, Tova, my rock, my partner, and my greatest source of strength. For the past 14 and a half years, you have stood beside me with unwavering love and dedication. You manage a full-time role at the Jewish Federation of South Palm Beach County, yet still ensure that our home runs smoothly and that our children are taken care of in every possible way. Tonight's Siyum reflects not just my journey, but yours as well. You meticulously handled every detail to make this evening so meaningful. Though I may have been the one turning the pages of the Gemara, you were beside me every step of the way, encouraging me, supporting me, and listening with interest and patience whenever I excitedly shared a new insight. Your belief in me means more than words can say. I love you so much. To my dearest children, Zev, when I started doing Daf Yomi, you were just 5 years old. Jake and Abby, you were just 2.5. You've watched me dedicate so much time to this. I hope you've learned that not everything in life comes easy, but with effort and persistence, anything is possible. I cannot wait to see what you each accomplish in life. To my in-laws, thank you for your support and encouragement over the years. It's meant the world to me and to our family. To my brother Jason, you've become such an incredible man. Watching you and Heather raise your son with such joy is beautiful. I'm so moved that after watching me do Daf Yomi for years, you decided to start soon, and have now finished your second semester. I look forward to celebrating your Siyum Hashas with you in 2,427 days. To Rabbi Goldberg, Rabbi Gibber, Rabbi Moskowitz, you have all been there for me and my family in more ways than I can count over the last 15 plus years. Rabbi Goldberg, you were the Masonic Kedushin at our wedding. You named all 3 of our children. Rabbi Gibber, you have guided us and supported us when we moved to this side of town, and continue to do so as we raise our children. Rabbi Moskowitz, you and I started at Goldberg's Synagogue the same day, and you have given me visit throughout this process. You even challenged me when I first started with the Sefes Makos and pushed me to keep up with it when I first began. You have all believed in me, supported me, and entrusted me with meaningful roles in your shuls. My family and I are incredibly grateful to each of you for your mentorship and your friendship. To Rabbi Shmuel Wise of Real Clear Daf, though he couldn't be here tonight, he was my Maggid Shir for the last 7.5 years. It definitely helps listening on 2 times speed. At the end of each Masechta, he would play Simon Tov Mazel Tov, and I would dance around the house with my kids. Over time, he changed the tune. My kids didn't like it, and they didn't want to dance anymore. I reached out to Rabbi Wise and asked if he could go back to the original tune, and he did. For that and his continued support, I thank you. I could spend hours talking about each person in this room and the impact you've had on my life. While I won't do that, I would be remiss if I didn't mention my producer, Rabbi Jerry Bartlett. For those who do not know, I approached Jerry on October 8th, 2023, and shared with him that I wanted to get Siyum done. Jerry is very accomplished in his life, and he did not need the added pressure, time, and dedication that would be required to get Siyum done. But he said to me that if I was going to do it, then he would do it with me. Over the following year, Jerry and I studied as courses and successfully completed the Machlan Smicha program and received Smicha exactly 1 year later. Thank you, Jerry, for your friendship, your support. It truly means so much to me. When the Art Scroll Gemaras were first published in 1990, my father was on a subscription. As each new volume was printed, it was automatically shipped to him. After my father passed away in 2007, my mother moved to Los Angeles and took the step with her. When I started learning Daf Yomi, she slowly shipped my father's set of Art Scroll Shas to me. Over time, I became the proud owner of my father's Shas. While my father is no longer with me physically, it has been beyond special for me to learn from his set for the last 7.5 years. One final thought before I complete the Sefes Sanhedrin and all of Shas B'Avli. If you had asked most of my high school rebbeim whether they thought I would one day complete even a single Masechta, let alone all of Shas, they likely would have laughed at me. I finished 9th grade Gemara with a 66 average. It was far from my strongest subject. In 10th grade, we were learning the Sefes Makos. I had it ready to allow me to write anything I wanted in my Gemara and to use it on my tests. I copied the Art Scroll translation, word for word, into the margins, and may or may not have even whited out some rough shades to make space for my material. If you don't believe me, I have it with me. But while learning Daf Yomi, I discovered something powerful. might be stuck on it for months. With Daf Yomi, I realized that no matter how hard today's Daf is, there's always tomorrow. A new Daf, a fresh start. Last week I spoke to Dr. Robert Galvin, Brian's father. He shared how proud and impressed he was that I'm finishing Hashas and asked me how I managed to keep it up all these years. I told him that first and foremost, I had the end goal in mind. I was determined to reach this milestone on the date I set out from the beginning. I also told him that inviting Brian to tonight's Siyum was an extra layer of motivation for me. And for those of you who follow me on Facebook, you know that I post each time I finish the Masechta. That accountability kept me going. So why am I sharing all of this? Because I hope someone here tonight walks away inspired. If a regular guy like me finished Hashas, maybe someone will say, Matthew can do it, so can I. If you haven't taken on Daf Yomi or committed to a regular seder of learning, you can do it. Just take it one day, one Daf, one step at a time. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and finish the Sefer Sanhedrin. This last paragraph of Sanhedrin is discussing who does not have a place in Olam Haba, and specifically what happens to a Jewish city where the majority of its inhabitants have been enticed into idolatry by false prophets or instigators. The Gemara ends discussing the effects of having the wicked and the righteous in the world. The Gemara discusses the last part of the Mishnah, which reads, Nothing of abandoned property shall adhere to your hands, so that Hashem will turn back from his burning wrath. And as long as the wicked are in the world, Hashem's anger is important. Gemara asks, who are the wicked to whom the Mishnah refers? Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef says, Gambe, thieves. Gemara cites Brisa, Shana Rabbanan, the Rabbi Son of Brisa, Rasha Ba'al, when a wicked person comes to the world, Karam Bo Lala, divine anger comes to the world. Tazrenu Lahatfil, Saptos, Arim, Sayin, Lomod, Lomay, Lashmor, Latos, Lakai, Mescal, Great, Talmud, Tarzat, the schools call it Tanayim, Raim, Tamideh, Tamim, Yomé, Uzari, Shalot, Tamush, Ataram, and He, Zara, Zari, Alama. It is Kayem, it is Alfefa, Tante, Al-Wasefa, Mishkalefa, Tishmor, Alefa, Bahakazizos, Tisifefa, He, Yeru, Yemefa, Biostu, La, Shanos, Kayem, Erfa, Yamim, Yamin, Bismola, Ashar, Anaya, Lemo, Yamin, Anaya, Israel,